Good day, students, and welcome to Lesson 5 for Oral Communication. Now, this week we are going to talk about the different speech styles. And in this lesson, we hope to be able to achieve the following. First is to characterize the different speech styles, to contrast the different speech styles from one another, and also to identify the speech styles as they are applied in real life scenarios. So in this lesson, we will talk about first the definition of speech style, and then we will move on to the discussion of each specific style. Specifically, we have frozen, formal, consultative, casual, and intimate. So let's get on with the first component. What is a speech style? Now, according to Joos, speech styles are variations in speech that interlocutors or communicators use when subjected to different degrees of formality. Now, what this means is that when we talk to different types of people, we tend to adjust the level of formality in our speech such that when we talk to our friends, it will be a different kind of language as when we talk to people in authority or our parents or people who are very, very close to us. Not just our friends, but maybe a significant other, a wife, a husband. And if you can notice, we talk in different ways when we have different sets of people that we wish to talk to. So that is what speech style is all about. So essentially, when we look at it from a very general perspective, we adjust our language depending on the person or people that we are talking to. So again, as previously mentioned, there are 5 types. We have frozen, formal, consultative, casual, and intimate. And let's discuss the first one, which is frozen. In the frozen style, Vallier defines this one as speakers having no control over the content of the speech because the content itself remains unchanging. That is why it's called frozen, because you cannot change what you are going to say. It's always the same thing over and over again. In common terms, this is probably what we can call as the scripted type of style. Now, what are some examples? Okay, to give you a picture or an idea what the frozen style is, first would be the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, in other countries, this would be the pledge to the flag or whatnot. But in the Philippines, we call that the Panatang Makabayan. Okay, so wherever you go, no matter what language you speak or what dialect you speak, in the Philippines, Panatang Makabayan will remain the same. We cannot change the words at will. It would take an act of Congress to do that. Next, the bailiff swearing in a witness in court. Now, whenever we look at videos of people or witnesses being sworn in, the bailiff would always utter the same words. Please raise your right hand and put your left hand on the Bible and then repeat and then answer this question. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. That phrase is unchanging. No matter where you go, it might be translated in a different language, but essentially, this statement remains the same. The bailiff cannot freestyle and use his or her words or paraphrase. No, it has to be the exact same phrase. Third one, the Miranda rights. Now, for those of you who are familiar with police movies or crime movies, the Miranda rights is very, very important. These are the words uttered by a police officer whenever a criminal or a suspect is apprehended. Without the Miranda rights, the arrest is rendered moot or it is rendered invalid. So what is the Miranda rights? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, so on and so forth. This statement is unchanging, and it must be uttered by the police officer or the policeman. Okay, without the Miranda rights, the arrest could be rendered invalid. So these are just examples of frozen style. Some other examples would be prayers, not the freestyle prayers that we say, but more of the prayers which are already set. For example, for Catholics, when we say the Our Father, the Hail Mary, we cannot freestyle the words. We have to recite the words by memory because we have memorized the whole thing. But when it comes to some other prayers, like for example, when other people are told to give an opening prayer, they usually write their own. That's not the frozen style. But when we utter a prayer or when we say a prayer that is based on memory, then probably this one is frozen style because it's the kind of prayer that is uttered in the same set of words as other people would do. For example, a prayer before meals. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. Same words. No matter where you go, some people still say the same set of words. That is frozen style. Very formal, okay, and unchanging. So we move down a notch. Okay, the formality goes down a notch, and we proceed to the formal style. Now, in the formal style, the speaker now has control over the content. You can say what you want, but the level of formality is still quite high. Why? Because according to Vallier, the formal style is found in very formal functions. These are functions spanning from state dinners with the head of state to commencement exercises when you graduate from senior high school, or when you graduated from elementary, you might have had a commencement speaker, or this could also be found even in seminars. Okay, so seminars are still formal events. So in the formal style, the words might be very varied. You have control over the words. You don't have to memorize them, but the level of formality is still quite high, which means 1, no slang terms. 2, no vulgar terms either. And number 3, in specialized formal events, for example, a medical conference, a conference about physics, jargons are largely used. Why? Because this is an event for a specific group of people. So all of them can understand the specific terminologies used in that seminar. Okay? It's the same thing whenever teachers have a conference. We have terms which are only applicable in the field of education, and even when the speaker uses those terms, most of the participants are able to understand what the speaker meant because, again, it's a specialized event. So, formal style has control over the words, but the level of formality is still quite high. So, some examples. You have the State of the Nation address. I know that in the previous years, the State of the Nation address has been riddled with vulgar terms or slang terms. However, essentially, the language must be formal. Second, a press release statement given by government officials and what have you. Okay, it has to be formal. And last but definitely not the least, usually a welcome address given by a speaker during a formal event. Or maybe a graduation speech will also be a good example of formal style. Okay, so we are going down in terms of formality, and the next step lower is the consultative style. Okay, so in the consultative style, Vallier has a definition where the communication process in the consultative style is unplanned. Okay, these are the types of things or the types of events wherein you don't plan in engaging in in communication or in a communicative event. But whenever you do, there is more interaction between the speaker and the audience or the receiver. And in this case, when the speaker gives out information or communicates or begins to communicate, the participants will respond. Okay, there is now an interaction between speaker and the receiver. This is more than just clapping. This is them actually saying stuff back. So in most cases, consultative style exists between a person and another person who is an expert or a person who specializes in a particular field. Allow me to give you certain examples. A patient talking to the doctor about the diagnosis or his or her diagnosis of an illness or of the symptoms. Okay, so in engaging or in looking at that particular scenario, when you go to the doctor and ask what are the possible diagnoses of your sickness, there is interaction between you and the doctor. The doctor is going to explain it to you, and in some cases, you also ask questions. What's the cause? Why did it happen to me? What medication can I take? Etc. etc. So as you can see, there is an exchange between you and the doctor. It's not just the doctor saying stuff to you and you clap. No, that's not it. That's the formal style. In the consultative style, you ask, the doctor responds, or sometimes the doctor will ask and you will respond in return. So, interaction. Next, this one is pretty much up your alley, a student asking clarification from the teacher. So when you approach your teachers, in this case virtually, and ask questions, Sir, could I have a separate session for consultation with you? Could you explain to me the concepts once more? This is an example of consultative style because the teacher can now respond to the student. It's not one way. There is an exchange of information. So remember, in consultative styles, the person and the speaker and the receiver have an interaction. They exchange ideas, and in most cases, one of them is an expert in a particular field. Okay? So we are now in the middle mark. This is now the middle portion of the degree of formality. We are going less and less formal. Even so, with the next step down, this is the casual style. Now, this is definitely informal. Okay? But it's not totally informal. Okay? There are still some restrictions, but this is less formal than the consultative style. In the casual style, this exists between people who are simply acquainted with one another. This is not necessarily another person who is an expert in the field, but it could be someone who you know, or this is someone who you have known for quite some time. These can be your friends, your classmates, your neighbors, your cousins, okay? People who you are not totally intimate with or not really very close to, but the level of formality between you and that other person is very low. So here, communication is much more free and both speakers interact freely. Because again, the level of formality is quite low, so you now have free reign as to what words you can utter. In this style, slang terms are welcome. You now begin to use slang terms, especially with your friends. There are certain terminologies which you use with your friends and certain words which you can use with your friends that you cannot use with your teachers. Okay? So, some examples. We have conversations with classmates or friends or talking to coworkers during lunch breaks. As you can see, when we try and visualize these situations, you can definitely see that there is less formality than when we are talking to people who are our direct superiors. Or when we talk to the principal, that is a different language being used as when we talk to our friends. So you can see the difference there. With our friends, that's the casual style. With the principal, that's pretty much consultative in nature, if we're going to ask questions. So lastly, the lowest level of formality, and this one falls at the bottom of the list. This one is the intimate style. In the intimate style, this is definitely informal, totally informal, because here there are no restrictions as to what words you can use. In fact, in the intimate style, people who are extremely close to one another or people who are intimate with one another usually have their own private language. Um, for example, best friends have probably a secret code for some other people, or they use very specific words um, to signify something else, or a code, probably. This one is indicative of an intimate style of speech, or of communication. The husband and the wife have their own love language, and that is also an intimate style. This one, when observed in real life, you can tell that there is an increase in nonverbal communication. So not only do you say words, there are also nonverbal communication strategies that accompany the words. So you're not just saying the words, or you're not just saying what you want to say, you're also acting out what you want to say. For example, a mother giving her daughter a hug. Sometimes, when we are sad, okay, and our parents give us a hug, without them saying anything, we can immediately tell that they are concerned, or that they care for us, or that they love us. And that is a form of intimate style. Okay? Without the need for words, the hug alone tells us something. Or next, we have a couple talking about their plans to start a family. And they might mention specific events in their marriage. They may cite specific experiences, and that is their own private language, because no one else will understand that. It is only the couple engaging in that conversation that will definitely understand the context of whatever it is that they are saying. So, in the intimate style, little to no formality is seen, and then there is also the increase of nonverbal communication. So, to give you a rundown of all the things that we have discussed, I have included here a chart, or a visual representation. Okay, so at the top most, we have frozen style. Level of formality is very high. If we go down, we have the formal style, again used for formal events. We go down, that's the consultative style, a person and an expert. We go down, we have casual, and then at the bottom of that level, or at the bottom level, we have the intimate style. So if you ever need additional readings, I think Valye has a very comprehensive discussion about the different speech styles. Okay, you can also do further reading using his article, and I have provided the link to you. So all you need to do is click this link, and then it will automatically transfer you or take you to the article written by Valye. So, with all that being said, I believe that ends our lesson for today. I hope that you have learned much from this discussion. And I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video and to listen to my lecture. So this has been Sir Dardar. I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. I'll see you in the next video. Toodles.